not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Hello again, and welcome back to The Arena, where we discuss the political situation in the United States and how we might better take part in it. It was a weekend, wasn't it? With Trump's inauguration on Friday, we are embarking on a new era. The new president's inaugural address was the standard boilerplate doomsday scenario we've become familiar with during his campaign, along with promises that everything will be rosy soon thanks to Donald J. Trump. Every president promises things they couldn't possibly deliver on day one, and Trump was no exception. There have been a flurry of executive orders, however, and we should look at what is happening, what it might mean, and whether there's anything we can or should be trying to do about it. Once in the Oval Office, Trump took the first steps toward trying to follow through on at least one half of one campaign promise, urging the repeal of Obamacare. I say one half because he promised to both repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act in one simultaneous move, which this did not call for. But this may have been more politics than policy anyway. Dismantling Obamacare will be a difficult, complicated process, and he also said that when it happens, everyone will have insurance and it will be cheaper and better. It is still early and impossible to say just what will happen, so keep an eye on that. Monday, yesterday, his first full working day, Trump signed a withdrawal from the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations. This was, of course, sold in part thanks to Bernie Sanders, pushed the idea that the TPP was an evil document and it would cost us jobs. It's possible. So if you're a fan of Bernie's, maybe you're siding with Trump on this. The scenario, as both Trump and Bernie painted it, was that the TPP would cost us jobs overall, and especially cost us good jobs, leaving us with nothing but fast food order taking. So if that's what you buy into, maybe you side with Trump on this. I do not. I think that the TPP, first of all, was designed to work together with the Pacific Rim countries to help thwart the threats of China and on the world business stage, whereas this leaves us now more open to greater problems from the biggest player in the field and possibly the biggest player globally in the future, China. So we'll see what happens. Trump, of course, says he'll negotiate better deals. I think that this most likely will cost us in that we will now have to negotiate individual deals country by country, and that just makes a dozen different situations more complicated than we would have, and some of them will probably be better, some of them worse. We have to see what happens. Trump also placed a freeze on federal hiring and pay raises. That did not include the U.S. military, and it's hard to say how much effect this will have. What the overall effect will have, we have to see. The Mexico City policy was reinstated. This is where NGOs working outside the U.S., if they're going to accept any federal funds, are not allowed to do anything that might in any possible way promote abortion, including doing radical things like, mentioning that it exists. This is a bizarre ping-pong policy in that it was initially developed by Ronald Reagan. It was then removed by President Clinton, it was reinstated by President Bush, removed again by President Obama, and is now back in place under Donald Trump. So, today, Tuesday, because I'm a day behind, Trump signed orders to resurrect the Keystone and Dakota pipelines. This is consistent with his attack on the environment, with it he hopes will be job boosters, and the administration effectively went ahead with implementing what basically amounts to gag orders regarding climate change throughout the government. 2 thumbs up for the Badlands National Park, which tried to thwart this and sent out a lot of tweets, but then they were withdrawn, but they're generally floating around the internet. Retweet those if you can find them. This is also why Scott Pruitt is one of my most feared cabinet nominees, and why if you aren't already supporting the Natural Resources Defense Council and the Sierra Club, among others, now would be a good time to start. Proposals still unmet that were supposed to happen on the first day. Congressional term limits have not happened. Trump is promising a 75% reduction in regulations, along with his promise to take away 2 for every 1 that he instates. Whether he'll propose a new regulation to require that 75% reduction in regulations, I don't know. Trump has proposed a 5-year ban on people working in the White House and congressional staffs as taking jobs as lobbyists. That hasn't happened yet. He promises to renegotiate NAFTA. That hasn't happened yet. And he promises to cut off funding from the United Nations global climate change programs. That, thankfully, hasn't happened yet. So there's a lot of things still waiting to see what shakes out in these early days. On the cabinet news, most of Trump's cabinet looks to be a disaster, with a number of nominees with either minimal experience or expertise in the areas in which they've been assigned, or an outright antagonistic attitude to the department they've been asked to lead. It looks like one of the most egregious nominees, Rex Tillerson for Secretary of State, might have faced some opposition from more principled Republicans on the Hill, including Lindsey Graham, John McCain, and Marco Rubio, but all three of them have now rolled over, and it appears there will be not a lot of serious opposition for any of Trump's nominees. Still, it would be worth it to call or write your senators and let them know you're opposed to any of the more regressive candidates. I've personally chosen to highlight Tillerson, Betsy DeVos at Education, Jeff Sessions, and Flynn. I can't even remember his first name because I don't want to remember it or think too much about him. He's a security guy and not one that makes me feel more secure. And lastly, on the Trump front, Kellyanne Conway has added a new term to the political lexicon with the invention of alternative facts, which apparently to her ear sounds better than mistruths, falsehoods, deceptions, or bold-faced lies. But there's probably been enough about alternative facts on Twitter that anybody is paying attention is aware of that. But if the weekend was discouraging in that regard, there was a lot that I and anyone who fancies them even moderately progressive could like on Saturday, when millions of women and more than a few men took part in marches protesting the new administration in Washington, around the nation, and on every single continent, including Antarctica. I assume anyone interested enough to watch this channel already saw and celebrated this call to action, but the question is, how do we take those feelings of solidarity and change it into positive, sustainable action? If you're in the United States, one thing you can do is go to the website swingleft.org and let them know where you live, work, or can get to, and they will connect you to the nearest people working in critical swing districts that might be moved into a more progressive stance in the future. You'll find out what needs to be done and be connected with people who can help do it, with your help. It's a great way to continue with our efforts to unite behind progressive causes, believing that we are still stronger together. For me, I'll be trying to throw some help to defeating Darrell Issa in California's 49th District, where he was elected with less than a 1% margin. Remember, the 2018 midterm elections are less than 2 years away. What's your nearest swing district, or are you living in one? Let me know down in the comments and give me your ideas and your biggest concerns for how we can help move the needle in the next couple of years. Till next time, stay informed, keep active, and I will talk to you again soon, hopefully.